A disabled man with plans to enjoy a night at the I-30 Speedway says he had anything but that. Good evening, I'm Kevin Kelly.
I'm Donna Terrell. Jason Bradley is confined to a wheelchair and says the racetrack doesn't meet standard requirements for those who are disabled. Fox 16's Stephanie Sharp sat down with him tonight to find out what happened. Stephanie?
Yeah, guys, Jason Bradley says this was his first time at the Speedway. He says the track is built for four wheels, but the park itself not made for his two.
Jason Bradley enjoying his favorite hobby, NASCAR.
Who is your favorite driver?
Nick Warren.
But it was a recent trip to I-30 Speedway that has Bradley and his caregivers fuming. John Hannibal and his wife took Bradley to the pits in the beginning of August.
The whole point I'm going and then going to the pit.
We've been blessed to have Jay, so we try to do things on the weekends.
Before they left, Hannibal says he called the Speedway asking if it was handicap accessible. They told him it was. He says when they got there, it was a different story.
I asked the lady, I said, is there any handicap parking? She said, if you can find one.
They asked the parking attendant if they could drive to the pits, and they said absolutely not. He said they had to push Bradley through mud and a rough road to take these pictures with the drivers.
The bumps are so bad he's raising his bottom that far up. It's pretty bad.
Leaving Bradley hurting and sore. When they got to the pits, they say there wasn't a great place for his two wheels.
And we sit there at ground level, and of course there's a fence there, and the people started lining the fence, and my wife had to get ask two of them to move.
As for the bathrooms, Bradley couldn't even go.
You have to have more than 2 foot and definitely more than a shower curtain for a grown man to use the restroom.
Bradley says he'll always remember his night at the Speedway, but not just the checkered flag.
And for me and handicap, they did not care at all.
We have reached out to people at I-30 Speedway several times in the last day and a half for comment. We have not heard back from them. Rather, if and when we do, we will, of course, let you know.
My goodness.
Yeah, unfortunate. But as you know, I mean, the American with Disabilities Act was passed back in the late 90s, and there are guidelines that should be met. Does that pertain to a speedway such as the I-30 place?
You know, I did speak with a local advocate about, what the laws are, what the guidelines are, especially for places like that have been constructed, several years before. And they said that, they have to meet those guidelines. Sometimes it's kind of a myth, some people don't realize it, but all of those places that were constructed before those ADA laws went into effect, they must change the way that they do things. I also ask if there's anybody in the state that really inspects these places, goes into these different facilities and sees if they are handicap or disabled accessible, and they told me there really isn't at this point. It's just pretty much up to the businesses themselves.
Wow. Interesting.
Okay. All right. Thanks for